Hello and welcome back to Kev's Vintage Tractor Repair channel. All parts in this video are sponsored by MARC UK Limited. I hope you enjoy. Hello and welcome back to Kev's Vintage Tractor Repair channel. So in today's episode, we're going to be fitting our injection pump housing, also the injection pump, to our Ferguson 23C engine. In a previous episode, when we got the timing chain on, all right, so we know that the valves and the crankshaft are all timed together. But what we need to do now is obviously time our injection pump to the engine. Now, as I say with all my videos, this is how I do it. It might not be the right way, but it works for me. So please sort of take what you can from it. If you can take a little bit of this and probably a little bit off something else, we'll all get to the same place. But I hope this helps you out. We know the engine is set right. What we need to do, let's put that to one side, is we need to fit our injection pump housing. And what we need to do is make sure this sprocket meshes in with our camshaft. What is nice about working on these engines, we have our little shaft which connects the injection pump to the injection pump housing. So I just show you on the injection pump. Okay, so what's good with these? Okay, we've got our little shaft which connects injection pump housing to the injection pump. But what's nice about these, we have a master spline which is on there, which, as it says, is we can get this down, and we turn it around, and it can only go in one place there. All right, so that's in there. Cannot go in any other place. All right, apart from there. Now, in the books, all right, what we need to do is get the master spline. Where the master spline is in between the two little green dots, if you can see those. This is only going to be roughly, and what that in the book says, we're going to put a line up here, right, vertical, up and down, and roughly 45 degrees. All right, this is only roughly. We now know that our master spline in there with the two little green dots is going to be, we've got to turn this, you can see it moving, get it roughly at about 45 degrees-ish. So mark there and there. All right, so that's where that has got to be fitted. So what we'll do, we'll just go over to the engine. We're now back at the engine. We know that was our top dead center mark. And when we pulled the engine apart, I highlighted the 16 degrees mark. All right, so this is 16 degrees before top dead center when we want the diesel to be injected into the cylinder for it to compress and for it to fire. So if we remember, there's that little hole there, which it's just an old screwdriver. Put it in, and it's locked in. All right, it's not exactly right, but we get the right size bit, but this works for me. So the flywheel, crank, and camshaft all now locked at 16 degrees before top dead center. What we're now going to do is offer up our injection pump housing. We've now turned the engine and we're locked at 16 degrees before top dead center. We had our injection pump housing. We've put our little marks on there. So if we turn the sprocket round until it's more or less at 45 degrees. So what we want to do a bit of a dry run, just offer it up. And in theory, just push it straight on. If you find you have to turn any of this, take it off and try again, all right? Because with these engines, a lot of people moan about them, that they're poor starters and this, that and the other. But when you rebuild them, it all comes down to the timing, all right? So get it correct. That's in there. So obviously this line is just a rough line, just to give us a bit of a guide, all right? But we know it's all now locked into place. So what we're going to do, I'm going to put just a few bolts in just to hold this in place. So I'm just going to take it off, be really gentle with it, and what we'll do, we'll get our gasket, get some bolts on it, and then that's locked in place and it hasn't got to come off again. We're back here, all right, so let's take this 4 falls down. Get your favourite sealant. All right, we all know this is the one I use, this Permatex one. If you use anything other than this, let's say, all right, all you've got is the silicone. All right, we know how everybody feels about that. But if we see this little hole here, that is the hole that feeds the oil into this housing. All right, so if you do put anything other than that on there, all right, make sure you don't cover that hole up. All right, so just be a bit careful. And like I say, what's nice about this, we've got locating dowels as well. All right, but we all know, like I say, this stuff, we know that'll dissolve in the oil, all right, as it goes around. Now, I'm going to put all the part numbers down to the parts I use. Now, you can't buy this one separate. All right, so what I will do at the end of this video for this one is I'll put you a part number down for the complete, obviously the complete bottom end gasket set, which will have your sump, this one, timing cover and so on. All right, so put it the right way around. So on there, on your locator and the other locator. If we see, there's a hole for that little oil wire. There we go. Back on there, and then we'll get through these little bolts. We now know 16 degrees before top dead are locked in. That's at 45 degrees, locked in, locked in. We know that's correct. Now, if I just get our injection pump, there is another gasket which goes on here, but for now, I'm not going to fit that because obviously I've got to send the injection pump away to get it refurbished. So, but there is that one which comes in the kit as well. You might not be able to see it, might not come out very well on the camera because the lens won't sort of zoom in far enough. But there's a letter G and a line going across, all right? And that's our timing mark in the pump for what we need. We've got a circlip in there. Sometimes you get them, there'll be a little scribed line on there. But for these, that circlip should be in the right place. So if I give it a turn, I can get the line on the bottom of the circlip. If we look at the end of our injection pump, that roughly should be near enough at 45 degrees, give or take a little tweak of it. Take this off, we'll plonk that in, and then what we'll do, we'll offer up my pump, and in theory, if it decides to, it should. So when I was explaining where the mark was for the G, it's the bottom of the circlip. The bottom circlip is where you want it, and that's where the line is. So my orange line is with the arrow. Where that is, all right, is 16 degrees before top dead center. To start off, for our initial sort of start of the engine, you'll have two scribe lines, one on here and one on there. Make sure they're in a straight line. All right, or if you haven't done anything else to this, you literally just took the pump off to do whatever, put it back to where it was, because by twisting it, obviously advances the pump and retards the pump. All right, but because we've rebuilt it, we need somewhere to start, so we can start with those lines that go straight across. So I'm just going to get a couple of bolts. We all know it's locked at 16 degrees before top dead center. So if we come to the top of our engine, and if we can see this, where the piston is, all right, it's not right at the very top yet, so we know it's not right at top dead center, so it's still on its compression stroke. All right, where it is now is when it would be injecting diesel into our piston. Give it a turn. It's now hit its compression stroke, oh, compression. All right, so it would have fired. All right, we're on the back, we're at top dead center. What is always best to do, we've now put all this on. All right, there is a complicated, this is a hard video. It's all on, all right, things are sort of just gently nipped up, all right, just to hold them in place. So what we want to do now is just do a couple of rotations of the engine, just to see if things are correct. All right, so we'll just keep turning it around. All right, just It is easy if you get a socket the right size rather than an adjustable spanner. We should be coming around again. We are at top dead center. Same at the back. Piston is as high as it's going to travel. We've got everything on, all sort of nipped up and in tight, roughly where it needs to be. Engine's locked at 16 degrees, which obviously gives us our gap here. Fuel has been injected into the bore. So if I just bring it around a little bit more, and we're at top dead center. So in theory, it would have fired now. We've now turned it round. We're at top dead center. Our marks are lined up there. They are on the back, and I think, if I remember, if we come round this side, when we did the original video of timing it up, we put some marks on the flywheel. So there is our other top dead center marks, in case we've got everything all plugged in. Just make sure there's nothing sticky, all right? There's no sort of tight spots. If there's tight spots or anything like that, try and find out what they are, all right? Because you don't want to put the engine all back together with a tight spot or something like that. It will just come and bite you in the end. So just give the whole thing some nice turns, and then try or do your best to find top dead center again. I keep coming around. Near enough there. I look on the back. We're there. If we go to our hole on this side, we're fine all the way around. Okay, there's no tight spots. Everything is moving as it should. We know the pump is now timed in. If we just come this side again, you're not going to make out the lines on here. On yours, you most probably will. But to adjust the pump once we're ready to start firing it, you can advance and retard the pump accordingly, whatever suits. That's why I don't put this gasket in until the very end. When I know I'm about to nip out for the last time, I haven't got to move it again. If you're doing the same as I'm doing, you've still got your pump to send away. All you need to do, take it off. You don't need to lock anything down, because if you're doing this at home, nobody else is likely to touch the engine. So undo this bolt. All right, yours could be on studs, these are on bolts. So take it out. Out it comes. Send your pump away. And then you just leave it. We know everything is all timed up correct, and we don't need to do anything else with it. All I'm going to do now is put this cover on, right, which goes in there. Obviously with this gasket. I'm not going to show you that because that's sort of straightforward. This gasket and the one in here don't come separate. They come within the bottom gasket set, which I'll give the part number for that as well. So with the bottom gasket set, you get all these other gaskets, time and cover, oil, filter, sump and strainer as well. I hope that makes sense, that video. I'm sure you can sort of pause it as we're doing it. It's a video that I've been putting off doing, all right, because it is going to be it is a little bit long-winded and a little bit complicated. I hope that makes sense. If you want, put questions or whatever in the comments and I'll do my very best to answer them. I hope you enjoyed it, and I shall see you next time.